Can't believe it's come to this, I muttered to myself, reading a certain diary I found in my son's room. The entries were shocking, not something you would expect a kid to write. However, it clarified all the uneasy feelings I have had for days. I immediately reported it to the police. I am Natalie, 32 years old. I work part-time. I have been married to Freddie, also 32, and a company employee for 11 years. I still work at the fashion company where I was full-time until we had kids, thanks to a very understanding boss. Our son Joseph turns 10 this year, and we're starting to think about buying a house to set up a room for him for the future. But Freddie's attitude towards me and Joseph started changing. Joseph loves studying and gets high praise from his teachers for his grades. He's already doing well, but he still spends his time reading at the library or helping friends with their studies after school instead of playing outside. Once Joseph got a couple years into elementary school, Freddie started saying,
"Kids should be playing outside. No need to study. They should be building strong bodies."
He would send Joseph to the park in the cold without a jacket, or take away his books saying,
"Too much reading will fill your head with weird ideas."
At first, I was concerned about Joseph's lack of exercise, so I could understand Freddie's point, but I started to question him when his actions became excessive. I get where you're coming from, Freddie, but isn't this too much for Joseph? It's good to be active, but he doesn't need to be in light clothes, and he sets a time for reading, so no need to take his books away.
You're too soft, Natalie. That's why he gets sick from just a bit of outdoor play. You're his mom. Be responsible. He's a boy. He needs to be strong and active.
Conversations about our son Joseph always ended in a stalemate, leaving me pondering what to do next. Whenever Freddie had a day off and wanted to take Joseph out, I made sure to go along. I did this to keep an eye on Joseph, ensuring he wasn't pushed too hard, and often suggested outings like going to the movies or visiting art museums. Joseph loves appreciating art, and when we would go to an art museum, he would eagerly share with me the knowledge he had gained from books. Freddie would say,
"If you're going to places like that, I'm going to hang out with my friends."
And he never once joined us. I tried to bridge the gap between Freddie's parenting approach and Joseph's interest. Eventually, I stopped trying, and we became increasingly divided within our home. After a while, Freddie said,
"I don't want to waste my money on a child who won't listen to me. Let's cut down on Joseph's education expenses."
The education expenses he mentioned were just a few tens of dollars a month for online courses, in addition to elementary school tuition. Frustrated, I decided to cover Joseph's course fees and any future learning activities with my own earnings and pre-marriage savings. Meanwhile, Freddie was spending the money he saved on new car parts and unnecessary upgrades like a new dash cam despite already renting one from the insurance company. Then one day, I got a call from my dad. He had hurt his back and asked if I could help him out with daily chores until he was better. My mom had passed away right after I got married due to a long-term illness. We hurried our wedding because I wanted her to see me as a bride. Ever since, Dad has been living alone, a 30-minute drive from us. Joseph enjoys visiting him occasionally and listens eagerly to his stories about the past. When I consulted Freddie about my dad's situation, he said,
"He's getting up there in age, so it's a concern. Don't worry about me, go take care of him."
From that day on, I started going to my parents' home every other day after work. I would do some shopping first, then prepare meals for my dad before heading back home. Dad said shopping was enough, but standing for too long seemed to strain his back. On my days off, I would take Joseph to my parents' home. While I was cleaning the house, Joseph and Dad would have all kinds of engaging conversations. They both seemed to enjoy it. As the days went on, Dad started giving me money for taking care of him. He said,
"Don't let caring for me take away from family time with Freddie. Aren't you guys planning to buy a house? How's that going?"
Actually, we had already narrowed it down to a few properties. We just had to choose one. But between Freddie's attitude and caring for Dad, we had yet to pull the trigger. We decided to discuss it again once Dad was stable. Not wanting to worry Dad, I just said, "We're fine," and went home. Still, I felt that we shouldn't keep pushing family issues aside, so I decided to talk to Freddie after Joseph had gone to bed. Ever since we disagreed about how to raise Joseph, it's like there's been this distance, this wall between us. Family time has decreased too. What are you thinking about all this? Freddie replied,
Even if you hear my opinion, you'll just end up spoiling Joseph anyway, so what's the point? Sure, I said it's okay to take care of your dad, but I never said it was okay to neglect our home. I didn't sign up for this.
According to Freddie, he assumed I would continue to work part-time without cutting back, manage household chores perfectly, and then also take care of Dad. His "don't worry about me" had been just a polite phrase.
To be honest, buying a house is basically taking on debt in my name. I don't want to do that for a son who disobeys and a wife who neglects her home for her parent.
Freddie said, exhaling deeply as if to criticize my recent actions. But I'm working every day too, I argued. Plus, you go out with your friends on your days off and never play with Joseph. Just because things aren't going your way doesn't mean you can neglect parenting.
Why should I have to spend my days off going to boring museums and libraries? I would understand if it were baseball or soccer.
Freddie countered, making it clear he had no intention of compromising on what Joseph wanted to do. I was utterly dumbfounded by Freddie's comments, proving he's unreliable as a husband and as a dad. Initially, every time Freddie took Joseph out for some exercise, he didn't properly hydrate him, made him run endlessly, and didn't hold back when kicking or throwing balls. Not only did Joseph not enjoy these outings, but he also ended up getting injured or bedridden for days. Because of this, Joseph became afraid to go out with Freddie, and I had to worry excessively about their activities becoming downright dangerous. I have repeatedly told Freddie to be more considerate and moderate when it comes to Joseph's exercise, but Freddie never listened. Frustrated, I almost gave up on finding a solution. The unresolved tension weighed on my mind, especially with a home purchase and our family life at stake. Surprisingly, the problem was solved sooner than I thought. The day after our talk, Freddie apologized to me. According to Freddie, a conversation with a colleague who also had children led to this change of heart. Freddie's colleague was so shocked and disillusioned by his story that they said,
You're not just failing as a dad, but as a husband too. Your wife could rightfully report you for this.
Feeling grateful to Freddie's colleague, I accepted his apology in hopes of improving our family relationship. After that, my dad's back condition improved, allowing him to go back to his routine. I decreased the frequency of my visits to my parents' house, allowing us to spend more quality time as a family. Things were also going smoothly with the house purchase. We were just waiting for the mortgage approval. We were looking at a newly built house close enough to both our workplaces and without the need for Joseph to change schools. As the house purchase loomed closer, Freddie began working overtime more frequently and I increased my part-time hours. When it seemed like we would be home late, my dad took care of Joseph. Finally, our mortgage was approved and we purchased our new home. But the day after completing the formalities with the real estate agent, Freddie went to work and never came back. I contacted everyone I could think of and even the police, but Freddie's whereabouts remained a mystery, leading to some unsettling days. Due to Freddie's disappearance and the instability it brought, we had to reconsider buying the house. Fortunately, our real estate agent was understanding, and the property was popular enough that we could easily cancel the contract. About a week after Freddie vanished, while looking for clues, I found a notebook in Joseph's room. Rather than merely finding it, Joseph had deliberately left the notebook on his study desk with a sticky note that read, "I'm sorry for keeping quiet all this time." Opening the notebook, I discovered it was a diary that Joseph had kept for about 2 years since he was 8. I felt a chill reading it. The diary began with an account of seeing Freddie walking with a woman I didn't know. spotted on the way back from the library. Freddie and this woman seemed like a couple from a romance drama it read. Could she be a special friend besides Mom? The diary wondered. At 8 years old, the concept of cheating seemed unknown. However, things took a turn when Joseph bumped into Freddie and this woman walking together. Freddie began to threaten Joseph, saying he would kick him out if he told me about this woman. Joseph realized that Freddie and this woman had a suspicious relationship. Ever since Joseph understood that their relationship resembled the cheating he had seen in dramas, his diary was filled with guilt for keeping this from me. Worse, while I was away visiting my parents, Freddie had kicked Joseph out of the house and invited this woman in. Joseph was keen to accompany me not just because he enjoyed talking to Grandpa, but primarily to escape Freddie. As a recent entry showed, Freddie's behavior towards Joseph seemed to worsen day by day. Furthermore, it contained threats like,
If we move out, you won't see your beloved grandpa much. If you don't listen to me, I'll kick you and Natalie out. Then Natalie might abandon you for making her lose her dad.
By this point, I was trembling with anger at Freddie's actions and filled with shame for hurting Joseph without even realizing it. But the diary had even more shocking content in the last few days.
If Grandpa gets hurt, Natalie will have to leave the house to take care of him, and you will even get some money. So it would be good if Grandpa gets hurt again. You should make Grandpa get hurt.
It said it went as far as telling Joseph to push Grandpa or drop something heavy on his foot. The last page read, Dad said that if Grandpa's house caught fire, we would get money. Then we could build a more luxurious new house. And Mom would probably spend more time at Grandpa's so he could live with a new wife in a new house. I called the police the moment I read the diary and went to pick up Joseph and Dad. The police took the matter seriously and quickly located Freddie. He was staying at the home of a colleague from work who appeared to be the woman mentioned in his diary. Large amounts of gasoline were stored on the porch of that house. Freddie and his host made the lame excuse that they were planning to use it for a barbecue, but due to the excessive quantity, they were both taken in for questioning. I seized this moment to contact my lawyer, who I had already consulted about divorcing Freddie. Through this, I had been aware of Freddie's affair all along. I had felt something was off when Freddie would opt out of family outings to hang out with friends on weekends. So I had been doing my own little investigation without alerting Freddie. Moreover, the latest recordings from Freddie's dashcam had conversations with this woman, and I knew they had been going to a hotel together. The day Freddie had apologized saying he had been told off by a colleague for being inappropriate, he had actually been asked by his mistress to break up because "You don't seem like you would be a good dad if we had a child." I had reserved destroying our family by revealing Freddie's affair, especially after seeing he was breaking up with his mistress on the dashcam footage. I thought I would keep it to myself and give us another shot, but my decision put Joseph in agony and could have led to a catastrophe. Physically and emotionally drained, I steeled myself for the tough decisions ahead. When Freddie returned from the police station, he apologized profusely, saying,
I felt enormous pressure financially, especially after buying the house, and I just ran away. The person who sheltered me was just a colleague, nothing more. I swear.
Freddie seemed to think I was unaware of his affair at that point. I immediately contacted a lawyer and took Freddie to the law firm. When I mentioned his affair and demanded a divorce, he tried to shift the blame onto Joseph.
Joseph told you, didn't he? He hates me and wants us to divorce.
But he was left speechless when I presented evidence. After the lawyer finished explaining everything, saying,
We will be contacting your affair partner for compensation later. Please cooperate.
Freddie suddenly stood up. He lifted his chair and hurled it towards me. I narrowly dodged it. Stunned, I listened as Freddie yelled at me,
You gave birth to an unlovable child and now you want to take my money even from her?
The lawyer intervened, and Freddie was taken back to the police station. The next day, I sent a package to Freddie's and his mistress's workplaces. It contained detailed documents and dashcam footage. The footage included conversations between Freddie and his mistress discussing how setting fire to my parents' house could net them money and give them more opportunities to meet. In the end, I received a hefty settlement from Freddie's family and the woman he cheated with. I finalized the divorce, sold our house and my parents' home, and moved to a neighboring state with Dad and Joseph. Though he was in charge by the police for the arson plot, my boss saw the incriminating footage. Recognizing Freddie as a danger, my boss fired him after his actions led to police involvement. His mistress found the work environment too hostile and quit, moving back to her family home. As for Freddie, his parents took him back in, but are keeping a close eye on him. They were planning to kick him out, but grew concerned he might harm me or their grandchildren after he complained about holding a grudge against me. Now, he lives under strict conditions, no car, no phone, and any money he makes doesn't go directly to him but is managed by his parents. After all the drama, I focused on Joseph's emotional well-being for a while. I also attended counseling to recover mentally. I'm truly grateful that Dad has been the rock in our lives. Joseph has become much happier now that Freddie is out of the picture. He's enjoying his days with new friends in our new place. I was planning to leave the company I have been with for years, but my understanding boss offered me an opportunity to work remotely, managing an online store. Joseph has developed an interest in art and is now attending a local art class. As for Dad, he is living a relaxed life enjoying gardening at our new home with a yard.